think you're a half measure. I think you're a man who can't finish the job. I think that you're a coward.
Oh, did you hear that? Daredevil's a coward and it's go time!
Welcome to Cordkillers, where we know you're not taking half measures. You want to know all the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you can know what to watch, when to watch, where to watch it, and what device to watch it. That's what we're here to provide you with. I'm a half measure of a man, Tom Merritt.
I'm like Daredevil, only I can also see. But the trade-off is I can't fight crime, and I don't practice law.
But otherwise, entirely like Daredevil.
Brian Brushwood, right here. Dude, I'm very, very stoked about Daredevil Season 2. Do you think they can keep the magic up?
I think that's going to be an interesting question. I definitely got good vibes from that trailer. I like the idea of the Punisher as described in that trailer. Veronica Belmont is joining us today, host of Dear Veronica, contributor on contributor on DTNS, co-founder of Sword and Laser. What think you of the coming season of Daredevil?
I didn't watch the first season, you guys.
I
I never got around to it. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Did you watch Jessica Jones at least?
I did.
Okay. And did you like Jessica Jones?
I did.
I think Daredevil's much, much better than Jessica Jones. I think it's
really?
Yeah. I mean, just in terms of tightness of the storytelling and so on. I think there were some extraneous episodes in Jessica Jones.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I've heard so many good things about Daredevil. I don't know. And then Jessica Jones looked really cool. And so I started watching that. And actually, I heard that Daredevil was kind of violent, but it's not more violent than Jessica Jones, right?
Not really, no.
It's sort of like, it's one of those things where like, Fight Club got a rated R for violence, but some of the most violent scenes of Fight Club take place off screen. Like you hear the squishing sound of meat and it's implied. That's the kind of viscerality of Daredevil. It's not what you see, it's what's implied.
Well, I'm going to be homesick this week, so maybe I can fit it into my super busy sick schedule.
There you go. Yeah.
All according to our plan. Perfect.
That's what the flu is for.
Woo! 100-degree temperature. I can't feel my body.
So this means you get to say wacky stuff, and when you get in trouble, just say, I'm sorry, guys. I had a really high fever.
Yeah, I can't use drunk as an excuse this time. Now it's fever.
Drunk on a fever. Even better. Let's check out our primary target then and see if Time Warner's drunk on a fever. So Time Warner had its earnings. This is Time Warner, the television company, not Time Warner, the cable internet company. Two different things. Confusing that they're allowed to keep the names, but whatever. Time Warner is the owner of HBO, and as part of the earnings, they announced that they had signed up 800,000 subscribers so far for HBO Now. That's just about a year after they first launched HBO Now exclusively with Apple TV. HBO head Richard Plepler was asked by an analyst, why only at 800,000? And he said, well, I wouldn't say only 800,000 subs. We're just getting started. I think we're going to make a lot of progress. What say you, Brian?
Man, I'd hate to give such a simple diagnosis, take two, but I think it boils down to a delusion of, and I mean dilution, dilution, a dilution of brand value. I think Netflix, when it moved to streaming, and in fact, for much as we mocked the days where they were going to divorce the DVD portion of Netflix, it was a good move insofar as Netflix was going to mean just one thing, streaming excellent movies on demand. And since then, they've quietly kept the DVD portion, but they continue to mean just one thing. Now they mean amazing originals streamed on demand. HBO has a lot of quality. They have a lot of credit. They have a lot of respect for their originals. But what does HBO mean? Does HBO, if you go to anyone on the street and say HBO Now or HBO Go, what's the difference? And they're like, I don't know. Are they both HBO? Like HBO is the mega brand. And by trying to be all things to all fields, it's going to take a lot longer. Now, to be honest, I'm going to say that this is a good thing in that behind the scenes, HBO is able to go to all their cable cozies and say, hey guys, see, we told you this offering an independent a la carte option wasn't going to be a big deal. And it's not a big deal. Who likes making money? We're HBO. Keep the party going. So yeah. I don't see this as much of a misstep at all.
Now, to compare the numbers, they added a total of 2.7 million customers last year. So if you figure 800,000 of those are HBO Now, that's 1.9 million customers added in the traditional sense through cable deals. Veronica, do you look at this number? Do you think good, bad, indifferent? How does it strike you?
I do feel kind of indifferent, mostly because I think if I didn't talk to people like you guys, I don't even think I would really know what HBO Now is compared to HBO Go or just regular HBO. And maybe that's what a lot of people are dealing with. They're like, oh, I have HBO. And they don't really realize that it's a kind of a separate thing.
Yeah. Well, I think you both got a really good point, which is HBO has not gone out on a big offensive saying, subscribe to HBO Online. They've somewhat undersold it and sold it within the channels, if you will. So if you get an Apple TV, it's front and center featured by Apple. Hey, you could get HBO through here. It is a little confusing. There's HBO Go, there's HBO Now. A lot of people already had logins to HBO Go. Why bother paying for HBO Now? So you could argue that maybe HBO is a little early to this game and is now well positioned. But yeah, if they wanted to actually spruce this up and make it competitive with Netflix numbers, they'd have to go on a full out offensive and say, all right, we're pushing the digital only version of this. And that would piss off their cable partners. So I feel like 800,000 is probably what Plepler says it is. It's a perfectly legitimate number for how hard they're pushing and where they are in the process.
This is the curse.
Do they have any original content at all?
Oh, sure. Well, not specifically for HBO Now. However, it's implied in this article that that the new releases that are going to be coming out are going to be advertised heavily, implying that you could watch them on HBO Now.
Yeah, the Jon Stewart stuff particularly.
Yeah. So this is, I think HBO is suffering from the curse, if it could be called a curse. The curse of being number one is that you have something to lose. You have masters that you best not piss off. And in this regard, it forces them to tepid half measures. This is why, and you've heard me talk about this before, in the 1970s when cable was deregulated, all of the first movers are the one who had nothing to lose. Your Ted Turners were able to come out and make wild, bold experiments and create the world's first 24-hour news network and so on. MTV was able to do essentially free content that was provided by the record industry and call it compelling content. You can't do that when you have an establishment in another venue. That's why NBC and CBS and ABC, they never did. And that's why eventually when NBC decided to go cable, they did cable NBC, was supposed to be just cable NBC on cable, and it went nowhere. And it wasn't until they found a small niche in business programming that they started doing well. I think we're going to see that same kind of thing happen with HBO. There's no massive profit motive for them to try hard in this a la carte online only space. There is enough that they should hedge their bets and diversify and capture whatever latent fans are there. But it's only once they start seeing a decline on the cable side that they should even think about aggressively pushing this side.
And I would say from where I sit, HBO's in a much better position than a lot of those examples you gave, because HBO is doing the same thing Netflix is. It's got deals for movies. In fact, it's got much better deals for movies than Netflix has. And it's got high quality, groundbreaking, risky original program. They just launched Vinyl, Martin Scorsese directing this week. So I don't feel like they're having any problem with their programming. I don't think they need to have a special separate bit of programming just for the web. But I think what they're doing with Jon Stewart makes sense. Make some programming that actually works better on the web. They're still going to show it on linear TV, but it's going to be quick and hard to find. And so if you're an HBO Now subscriber, it's more directed to you. And I don't know that they are an example of the mushy middle in this case, Brian. I think they're actually doing the right thing, which is we have a great product and it doesn't matter how you're connected. We're going to keep making that great product. It's a matter of whether they want to push the pedal to move people to the online version or not yet.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody will dispute that HBO is not a powerhouse of a brand. I'm certain that it'll be fine in that regard. Insofar as HBO represents a certain style of content and a certain timeliness of recently run movies, I think it'll always continue to be that. But meanwhile, it is interesting to try to navigate the difficult waters of transitioning to a multi method of grabbing.
Well, they're the first ones to do it in that direction. right? Lots of people have created apps, and they all require you to authenticate, and so they're all second-class citizens because they know they're getting their money from cable. HBO is the first one in the U.S. to say, we're going to keep our cable channel and try to sell a digital channel as well. So it's a really interesting experiment.
That could be the genius of solving the curse of being first place, is that they're the only ones who have the resources to bully the cable companies to say, you want to not have HBO? It's up to you, boys. And then, we're going to be doing
what they've been doing is almost the opposite. They've been going to Comcast and saying, hey, come on, this isn't undermining your sales. But wouldn't you like to make a little money selling it? Sell it to your internet-only customers. Come on, y'all. Get in on this. We want to give you money.
Agreed.
We actually would like you to give us money if you get value out of the show.
Yeah, and so far, I think we got another one. We're down to only 38 people away from hitting that magic number of 2,000 patrons at patreon.com/cordkillers. If you don't know, we're a show that likes to provide you a little bit of value. We give you the latest news in cord cutting. We tell you our opinions about what content you ought to watch and which isn't probably worth your time. If you think that's of value to you, we'd like to see a few dimes thrown our way. You don't have to pledge a lot. Just $1 an episode would make all the difference in the world. Why don't you join the 1,962 people who are already keeping us loud, live, and independent? If
you're 38 people, give us $1 now at patreon.com/cordkillers and also see your doctor.
One corpse in Chicago voting.
Let's go to Signals Intelligence. All right. So CBS has been playing with the emotions of Trek fans. They said, we're going to bring you a new Trek series. And they all went, yay. And they said, and we're going to keep most of the episodes on CBS All Access, which you only have to pay $6 a month for. And they went, boo. And then they said, but we're going to hire Brian Fuller to run the show. He wrote for Deep Space Nine and Voyager, created Pushing Daisies, Wonderfalls, and Hannibal, and is the showrunner for the miniseries American Gods on Stars. And they went, yay. So currently, Trek status is yay.
That's all I care about.
So which part of this stands out the most to you, Veronica? Is it his pedigree or the sketch of some of the ideas that he's talked about online? What has you stoked?
Yeah, Angela Bassett, are you kidding me? As the captain, that would be amazing. She would crush it. But yeah, his pedigree is pretty awesome, and his passion for it, I think, is another big one. He's stoked, which makes me stoked.
Yeah, he's said a lot of things about what he would do with a Star Trek series in interviews, some of them wildly different from the other things that he said, which to me says this is the right guy to do it. He's full of ideas. He's really into the franchise and wants to treat it well. And that seems to have worked out for most Star Wars fans and giving J.J. Abrams Star Wars. So hopefully Brian Fuller can do the same sort of thing. Now, does this change the complaint about having to pay CBS $6 a month to get CBS All Access and able to watch Star Wars? If the fact there or Star Trek, the fact that they gave you Brian Fuller,
every time you remind me of it, I get annoyed about it again. So
go back to how Netflix looked to people who aren't already on the Netflix train when House of Cards came out. Their first big original. They're finally spending big money and doing it right. Maybe just House of Cards, like, well, that looks pretty good. One day I'll watch it. I don't know that I'm signing up for no $10 a month service to watch just the one show. That's where CBS is at. And as they continue to get more and more niche audiences super excited about high quality program exclusive to that distribution, I think that they'll be better and better off.
Got to make sure that app works too. I mean, I'll give you something. One of the reasons I signed up for Hulu finally is they gave me some content that I couldn't get for free on my desktop over AirPlay. That made sense. I'm like, I want that content. It's only available in the app. It's worth $9 a month, which is what they were charging at the time. It was before the commercial free option. Once I got in the tent, I was like, well, this app actually works pretty well. Well, actually, it's actually more convenient for me to watch some of these shows on the Hulu app than it is to even DVR them. And since I'm already paying for this other thing, might as well watch them here. And next thing you know, I'm watching all kinds of stuff in Hulu. And now we've got, them doing originals and crazy stuff like that. Can CBS pull that off is a big question.
I mean, I would say that its brand by itself doesn't have a reputation for nailing that. However, I will say if they do nail it, people will come around and they'll hop on board. It'll be like, oh my God, CBS is the jam. They do exactly the right thing. I do have one quick question. You had mentioned previously, Tom, that there was two different artistic entities handling different aspects of the Star Trek universe. You had the movies, which were licensed to Paramount, right?
Yeah,
but
the Viacom's Paramount division has the rights to make Star Trek movies, whereas CBS Incorporated not associated with Viacom, owns the Star Trek property, but they don't have the rights to make the movies. It's kind of a Marvel situation where like Marvel can't make X-Men movies because they sold those rights to Sony.
Okay, but here's what's interesting, and I think this will tie in when we talk about Deadpool later on. The Paramount movies introduced the idea of, spoiler alert, a timeline reset where things are now different or whatever. And one of the things Fuller has speculated about in public is, man, wouldn't it be interesting to see what the next generation looks like in that altered timeline where things would go different? That's a weird case where you are building on somebody else's universe, but maybe you don't say it, but you reimagine in parallel. You're creating this weird patchwork mosaic of a story. In that point, is it in Paramount's interests to fuss at CBS if they tried something like that?
It sounds like it's not in Veronica's interest. I don't think Paramount could stop them. I don't think they would stop them, to be honest. But Veronica, you groaned.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe because I'm just more like into the TV shows than I was the movies. That the idea of switching the timeline gets me kind of weird feeling inside that I'm sure is not totally related to my fever. But it's I guess that would be a reasonable thing to try. I think that would be kind of cool. But yeah, would they let them?
Well, CBS would have the right to do it. Whether they could take advantage of referring to all of the things in the movies or not, I feel like there must be some pretty, since they're licensing Star Trek from CBS, I think CBS gets to refer to those events. But I don't know exactly how those agreements are set and what's allowed and what needs permission. But yeah. I find it unlikely that CBS would want to do that because CBS notoriously has been the one saying, we know we make the merchandise, but we're going to keep putting out merchandise of the old school folks. And that's why you don't see a lot of merch around the new reboots from Paramount, is because Paramount's like, well, you won't cooperate with us. So we're not going to license a ton of merchandise and give you a bunch of money.
Yeah, I would take this idea, as Fuller described it, not so much as an indictment that a next generation reboot would be all lens flares and running down hallways, but more a case that you could reset all the pieces of the cosmic chess puzzle. Maybe all of a sudden, because of this strange timeline, the Borg have already been discovered, something that didn't even happen until, 4 seasons in before, you could make Romulan's closest allies, and for some reason we're at war with rogue Vulcan pirates because they're not around very much anymore. I don't know. I would like to see kind of a sideways universe retelling as long as they hit a lot of the main beats of the original.
It's a fascinating idea. I have always wanted to see a story that leaves the galaxy, that says, you know what, let's recapture that original feeling of the original Star Trek by going to another galaxy somehow, and just kind of giving us a whole new world to look at that has no connection back. You can't get back to the Alpha Quadrant and Starfleet headquarters. You're entirely on your own, and I think that would be a lot of fun.
Wasn't that kind of Voyager? I mean, kind of.
Well, Voyager was in the Delta Quadrant, so you got some of that, like you say, but you were still trying to get back. This would be a validly it's a one-way mission.
I want to encapsulate it more and have it just be a Star Trek series on a planet.
Oh, just like a colonization series or something? Like they're trying to colonize it? Yeah.
So like cool. Deep Space Nine, which was on a space station, but taking that even farther and saying, no, we're just going to make it a planet.
Mm-hmm. I could also see almost a Stargate take on it, where it's like scientists develop a wormhole that punches straight through to Andromeda. So it's like they still get to go home for supplies. They're not stranded trying to get home, but they truly are exploring a whole new world.
Stargate Atlantis it, where they think they can get home, and then they can't, turns out.
Okay. Yeah, we're nerds.
Let's intergalactic.
There's no new ideas. That's what we're saying. All right, let's move on and gear up. We got some gear in the rear. It's a StarCraft reference, not a dirty reference.
No, yeah, I was there with you.
I'm offended.
So here's the segment where we talk about the stuff you use to watch the things that you want to watch. And some of you still on cable. We got no judgments. We were on cable ourselves for a long time. It's a perfectly legitimate way to watch what you want when you want, if that works for you. Dish provides something called the Auto Hop service on their Hopper DVR that will automatically skip commercials for you during prime time. In fact, it won a CES award and caused a lot of controversy because of that. Dish and Fox settled copyright disputes over the Hopper DVR features this week, meaning that Dish will disable auto hop ad skipping for 7 days after a program airs, Previously, ABC got Dish to agree to a 3-day delay, and CBS got them to agree to a week as well. So now when you use the auto hop feature, Brian, it will skip after maybe 3 days, maybe 7 days, maybe immediately, depending on what show you're watching.
But then on top of that, regardless of what day it is, you will still manually be able to fast forward through commercials, right?
That too. Yeah, so exactly, because it is a DVR.
This is the funny part. Like, from a practical standpoint, not a lot has changed. Dish still gets to market the auto hop as their new punk rock, crazy, innovative feature. However, they managed to delay any kind of final decision on this because, understand, this wasn't a judge's ruling. This is the two parties coming together with a settlement. I think from the beginning, Dish said, we want to make a lot of noise. I think they were in third place at the time, might have been even lower. You know, it's like we are not first of mind in cable or satellite. We need to do outrageous things. Let's piss off these guys. Let's please the customers. Let's get a reputation for being those guys. Let's delay everything as long as we can. And right at the moment that we don't really care about that, and right at the time that we're much more interested in promoting Sling TV, skinny bundles, and so on, then let's just settle and let's make it some compromise that really doesn't affect us in any way.
And I'm curious whether Fox is going to give Dish something else that was not publicly announced. Will we see FX join up with Sling TV soon? Will there be a sports package that includes Fox Sports 1?
I totally believe that. I totally believe that this is the kind of thing where it's like, at some point the lawyers came in and were like, oh, that was long enough. We all agree this is dumb, right?
Well, what do you guys want to do? Hours now. Good? Okay, great.
Have you ever played with the auto hop feature? Does this excite you, or do you DVR at all, Veronica?
Oh yeah, well, we have a TiVo, so we do the new fancy button combo. What is it? To go skip over all the commercials right to the beginning of your show again. That's awesome.
Wow, I didn't know that one.
What is it? It's like Enter and D or something. I can't remember what it is. But it works. It's pretty cool. It's like skip here to get to the beginning of your show, and I'm like, okay, I don't even have to spend any time checking out when the fast forwarding's done.
No, that's the thing we mentioned, Brian, that they added to the Romeos in a firmware update.
Oh, that's right. That is right.
So yeah, there we go. DVRs still a thing.
Title of the episode.
Hey, another title that I want to tell you about is one called Citadel 32. That is the title of a book that I wrote that you can get at tommerrittbooks.com. It is a science fiction novel. It is about a civilization up on the moon that is still technological, that was cut off from the Earth and trying to make their way until they can maybe reconnect someday. And then down on Earth, you find out what happened to the people down there after whatever apocalypse happened down there. If that sounds like an interesting story to you, head on over to tommerrittbooks.com. You can get a free PDF of it. You can get a Kindle version of it. You can get a print version of it. The print version has cover art by Scott Johnson. Actually, the Kindle one does too. So go check it out. If you like science fiction books, you might like this one. tommerrittbooks.com.
Hey, Tom, about how long would it take to sit down and read Citadel 32?
If you're me, maybe a week. But it's a novella. But
I mean, all in one sitting. Here's what I'm thinking. How cool would it be? Because one of the things that's great about new media is that you make it available for free on your website, or you can pay, and you pay whatever you want. Basically, you can get the print edition and so on. What if, since you give it out for free, what if you had an ensemble cast reading party where everyone agreed to read a chapter, like just a 4 to 6 hour block, and we just read through the whole book. People traded off, taking different chapters. Would that be fun, or would that be too hard for you?
That would be way fun for Lot Beta, which has no audio version. The secret that I'm sitting on here is I have a recording of Citadel 32 read by myself and Veronica.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember doing that.
And I've been meaning to put it up on Audible and then give away a zipped file version as well. So you've pushed me off my butt. I just need to put that out there.
Oh, that's sweet. Awesome. Okay, well, good. I still want to do that.
I love that idea of the crowdsourced chapter read. That's awesome.
Let's all get together at this time, celebrity readers, and that would be fun.
All right, let's get into the front lines.
Front lines.
Hey, Lucasfilm, you announced that your filming has begun for that new movie that you're putting out in a couple of years called Star Wars Episode 8. There was a short video released today. Some people are calling it a trailer. It's really just like a teaser video. Shows Mark Hamill close up being Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Shows Daisy Ridley holding out something again. They're on set along with director Rian Johnson, who says, "Welcome to day one of the filming. Yay, woo." Also, in a related announcement, Lucasfilm announced that Benicio del Toro, Laura Dern, and Kelly Marie Tran are officially cast members in Star Wars Episode 8.
Man, I don't want to say I didn't like Benicio del Toro in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I certainly expected more from him. I hope he was saving it for this next Star Wars.
Well, he's playing the collector who
No!
collects lightsabers in this case.
What if he's more like when he was in the James Bond movie?
Oh, shoot. I'd like to think he's
scary
Freddy
in that.
Four Fingers. He's busy gambling and drunk.
He's the
entire
albino
time.
collector from James Bond's universe. Yeah. Kelly Marie Tran is an interesting one, too. A lot of people were speculating on a lot of other young female actors, and we don't know if this is the person who got chosen instead or if this is in addition to those rumors. But she is a comedian and also done a lot of like web video series. So I'm curious what her part's going to be as well.
Nice.
So what you're saying is there's hope for us.
Yes, exactly.
And
We
it's
will all
not
be in
that
Star
old
Wars
hope
eventually.
either. It's some other kind of hope. We should have a label for.
It's a recent hope.
There we
that I'm
go.
having.
A reset hope. The Hollywood Reporter says it has learned that Apple's first scripted television series will star Dr. Dre, who will also executive produce. The 6 half-hour episode series will be called Vital Signs and likely to be distributed through Apple Music. Sam Rockwell and Mo McRae are cast, and music video director Paul Hunter is running it. Empire's Robert Munich wrote the episodes. Man, makes me wish I had watched Empire so I could have even the slightest idea of what to expect from this.
Yeah, I mean, and Empire's a huge hit. I loved season 1, so I think Robert Munich writing is a good choice. I think this is a really interesting way for Apple to venture into original content. If they're not going to launch a TV service right away, get your feet wet with somebody who's an in-house star, fits right in with your music vertical. And so even if it doesn't succeed as original content, will likely do very well just to the music fans in the room. I think this is a very clever way for Apple to move down that road. And I think Apple should make original shows or commission original shows, if you will.
Yep.
I am feeling. I don't know how I'm feeling about this. Okay. I'll probably check it out. I'm keeping an open mind.
All right, good. I saw your
Good
mind
response,
just
Belmont.
open right there.
Well, I, for one, plan to talk a whole lot about how I'll check it out and then forget to do so because I have children.
That's the modern way. NBC Universal is launching another niche streaming service. They like to launch niche services around certain genres of show and then give them funny names. This time it's reality shows like Desperate Housewives, and the service is called Hayu. Hayu. They haven't announced a launch date, but it'll be available in the UK for £3.99 a month, in Ireland for €4.99 a month, and in Australia for $5.99 a month.
Are we going to hit complete saturation? Are we going to have fatigue for niche fatigue, or are we just going to fall deeper in love? Because, I mean, we're kind of seeing a repeat of what happened when you started getting digital cable, and all of a sudden you had 1,000 channels on every possible topic.
Yeah, and this isn't even coming to the U.S., right? So NBC is like, oh, we'll do a comedy one in the U.S., which is kind of weird. We'll call it CISO, and we'll do one in other parts of the world that's about reality shows and called Hayu. Like, it's like they're doing Spackle.
I think
they're
it's
like,
Or is
we
it
have
Hey You?
rights
Yeah, I think
gap
it's Hey
here.
You.
We can
Hey
put a little
you,
thing.
like I'm a reality show star.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
Yeah,
Hey
that's what I think.
you could be a reality show.
Although I do
star.
like Hayu. It sounds more like
Hayu!
kaiju. It's like at any moment they're going to become giant monsters
You're right, it's
stomping
Hey
in the
You.
city.
I'm an idiot. How did I not see that?
Hey man, OTT News is launched on iOS, tvOS, and Android as a test case for live streaming using BitTorrent. Alicia Nil, am I saying that right? James Raynell, Doc Stodden have been using BitTorrent Live's first mobile app to stream coverage. This is the actual BitTorrent company's tech for live streaming without needing a CDN. That seems like that would be of interest to companies that are working out CDN.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to try this at some point, aren't we? Like, this is really cool that they have an independent news organization trying this, for one thing, and you don't have to get an invite if you read that you had to get an invite. But the idea is, don't worry about reserving a bunch of bandwidth. Just put it out there, and the BitTorrent sharing will take care of the bandwidth as long as you've got a few people willing to seed this. You only need a few viewers.
Well, luckily we have those, plus
a few other things. Hulu now has an app specifically built for Windows 10, so it integrates Cortana, voice commands, as well as Windows Live tiles. Cinemax is now available on Sling TV. If you want to plop down an extra $10 a month, you can add that. Gives you linear channel plus on demand, so the same stuff you'd get in the Max Go app. And Amazon announced it is renewing Mozart in the Jungle for a 3rd season.
Is that show any good?
That show is an award-winning show.
It's pretty good.
Is it any
it's
good?
Pretty good.
I watched the first episode. It was pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a good character sort of thing. It's good.
Right on.
All right.
So it's not. Sorry, take it away, Tom.
I just was going to see what's under surveillance.
Oh, well, I was just going to gossip a little more about whether or not Mozart in the Jungle was any good.
Ain't got time for that, Brian, because we got all kinds of things to talk about that you can watch. I've divided them into 2 parts: casting calls for the casting announcements and the trailer park for all the trailers that were announced.
I love how we're never out of mixed metaphors and puns for the titles of all of our segments. And inside the trailer park, there's the butter dish, in which we find the warm, gooey center next to the hot box, which we call the microwave.
So pull out your microwave popcorn, folks. Let's start with the casting calls on the couch in the trailer, I guess. The Rolling Stone is saying that Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey apparently are the preferred choices for the roles of Roland Deschain and the Man in Black in the movie version of the Gunslinger. At least Stephen King says, quote, "It is more likely than not."
Wait, I thought it was going to be a TV show. It's a movie?
Well,
It was
in development hell for a long time. There was one very complicated scheme where Ron Howard was going to direct 3 movies, but in between each movies would be a television series inside, and that fell apart. And then at one point, J.J. Abrams was rumored to direct, but at this point, it looks like they're definitely... there have been reports saying that Idris Elba has been signed and people are talking out of turn when they shouldn't be talking yet. But at this point, here's the thing, is when someone like Stephen King, who has watched this project live and die as many times as it has, when he says it's more likely than not, this is a dude who's seen nothing but this show crater over and over and over again.
This is Stephen King saying, look, I'm an old man. I'm not going to BS you anymore. Idris Elba is on board. Has he signed a contract? No. So I can't say certainty because he hasn't signed a contract, but he wants to do this, and I want him to do it, and everybody wants him to do it. That's what it sounds like.
And by the way, dude, Idris Elba, what an inspired choice, as well as, from what I heard, the rumors are Matthew McConaughey was offered the Gunslinger, Roland, but instead he was like, nah, I think I'm more interested in this Man in Black character. That was my impression.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I do it because I like trees.
He plays the bongos.
Deadline says that Joe Wright, he was the person behind the movie Pan, has signed up to direct an episode of Black Mirror, which will star Bryce Dallas Howard, you remember her from Jurassic World, and Alice Eve, who was in Star Trek Into Darkness. There are 12 episodes under development for Netflix right now, so this is what we know of one of them.
Another one I gotta catch up on. I only saw the first episode and I was so traumatized that I let go.
Yeah, man, I can't tell if I respect them more or I just think they're insane for that being their pilot episode. Because I mean, a Black Mirror, it's like if you can get through that, you're
good.
They're all Candyland after that. It's like they're all Tales from the Dark Side, Friday the 13th, the series. You know, they're adorable after that.
They are.
Well, that gives me some hope because, as you guys know, I'm a horrible chicken when it comes to this kind of stuff. So if I made it through that episode, I feel like I can persevere.
Veronica, John Hamm is in one of them.
Oh.
3 of them.
Say no more. Say no more.
Well, I guess, it was 3 individual stories, right? All tied together with John Hamm?
He's in one episode of Black Mirror. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
The full new cast of Top Gear has been announced. It's pundit Eddie Jordan, Rory Reed, former CNET alum, driver Sabine Schmitz, journalist Chris Harris, and they're in with the ones we previously have let you know about, DJ Chris Evans and TV star Matt LeBlanc. As we forgot to mention when we told you about Matt LeBlanc, Amazon is building a car show around Jeremy Clarkson and friends, the old Top Gear cast. So they're bringing out lots of big names here in the motorsports world.
Do you think it's possible for these shows to both coexist, or do you think, are we looking at a Coke and Pepsi thing where we have two powerhouses, or is this going to be, WCW cratering under WWE or whatever?
Ooh, that's a great question. Veronica, you're a fan of Top Gear, are you not?
Yes, I am. In fact, it would have been so awesome to be on that show, man. That's like one of my pipe dream kind of things. Like, oh, if I could just be on that show somehow in my life. But that's great. I'm excited for it to come back and see how it feels differently.
Do you think that you will watch this and not the Jeremy Clarkson Amazon version?
Why not both?
That's my take. Like
Room
even
for both.
Even during the days of arguing over which wrestling network was best, a friend of mine was like, look, if you like wrestling, you should be nothing but happy that there's two wrestling networks and watch them both.
And don't forget, Jeremy Clarkson's crew didn't start Top Gear. Top Gear existed before he came along, and it will exist at least for a while afterwards. So there's no reason why they couldn't come up with a format that is differentiated enough. And Clarkson should do something new with the Amazon version that is even more in his wheelhouse. So yeah, why not?
This is fun. I just found a Buzz Out Loud from CES in which we interviewed Roy Reed.
And did we ask him, are you going to be on Top Gear someday? Because that would have been awesome.
No, we should have. We really should have.
So happy for him. Hey, okay, here's the trailer park. Run through these quickly. House of Cards Season 4 trailer is out. New season starts March 4th. Watch and like, anybody?
I did watch it. You know what? I think I could really get on board for a different type of drama with Frank Underwood. I mean, watching a dirty, nasty divorce in the middle of an election, I think there's lots for me to latch on to. I'm hoping it'll pick up the slack because I haven't really been digging the last couple seasons.
Frank Underwood?
Did I say Underwood?
You did say Underwood.
Yeah, I'm from Texas. Also, he's a liar.
That's how we
he
say
don't
it
tell
down
truths. He tells them underwords.
That's what I was hoping you were getting at. That's much more
the first trailer for Flaked, Will Arnett's Netflix comedy, not BoJack Horseman, but a different live-action comedy, is coming on March 11th. It's about a recovering addict in Venice, California, because of course you would go to Venice, California to recover.
I mean, that's the best. That way there's not temptation Oh, I see what you're saying now. There's definitely.
There's your plot.
It looks interesting. It actually looks pretty funny. But it's also a lot more serious than, say, a BoJack Horseman or an Arrested Development. Say hello to the Punisher in the new Daredevil Season 2 trailer. We saw a bit of that at the top of the show. Returns March 18th.
I dug the idea that the Punisher is not necessarily, in any way, apparently from this trailer, it looks as though they're going to try to portray the Punisher just as an unsympathetic terrorist, basically, that needs to be stopped. And then my guess is, there's some kind of big twist where it's like they realize they are on the same side at the end or something.
Yeah, it does look like he's like, I don't answer to anyone. You're not doing this right. Let me show you how to do this right. Which is, they set that up in the first season with what's Daredevil's trainer? What's his name?
Just Styx.
Styx, yeah. Obviously, a complicated name like that, I'm not expected to remember. Watch the first Game of Thrones Season 6 teaser trailer. Game of Thrones returns April 24th. It's just a bunch of faces, really.
Dark and spooky.
Yeah, but there's also faces of people that may or may not be dead. Netflix kids series Beats Bugs is coming out in August. It features music of the Beatles, sung by the likes of Eddie Vedder and Sia and the Shins. Brian, this is for kids.
No, this is brilliant because everyone knows if you want to get the kids, you got to get the adults. But if you just told me that if it was about John Paul, George, and Ringo and they played music as bugs, I would not be interested at all. But by taking current artists, somebody that appeals to the parents' generation and digging them in with something, the kids will watch anything. I think this is brilliant.
Also, it's
playing.
disturbing how many children do not know who the Beatles are. And even young adults who don't know who Beatles are.
I don't remember anything before 1999.
This is smart for the Beatles estate to do as well, and get people familiar with these songs. And the Thunderbirds are coming back. Thunderbirds are to come back to Amazon as CG later this year. This is an ITV production that Amazon is getting in on.
How does it look? I do not have the fond, warm, fuzzy memories everyone else has of the Thunderbirds. That was the Thunderbirds. To me, always meant like, oh, the good cartoons are over. I guess I have to go out and play now.
Thunderbirds meant, we acquired something at Tech TV that's actually worth something. That's cool. Hope we don't ruin it.
The sexy man cat confused my body.
Well, yeah, and if you're a big fan of the Thunderbirds, and I know some of you are, it definitely has the feel of the original Thunderbirds from what I can tell, but it is CG, not marionettes, so that may lose it for some of you. All right, Ms. Belmont, what have you been watching lately?
Oh, gosh, I forgot I was going to be quizzed on this.
Isn't that as a quiz?
Walking Dead. That's not a thing you're interested in hearing about because
I watched the Walking
things.
Dead mid-season premiere last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was a great
I don't know why
episode.
people are ragging on it. It was fine.
People were really, really pissed off about it, though.
Yeah,
and I understand why. There was
apart.
a lot of Deus Ex Machina situations. There was a lot of
there was a gratuitous
logical
violence
stuff, but I thought it was great.
Yeah. All right.
Personally, it was very tense. I finished watching what's the one that I liked that was on the Amazons with the
Mad Dogs?
the sex and the baby and the pregnancy? Catastrophe?
Transparent.
Yeah,
I also love
I think it's
Transparent.
Catastrophe.
Yeah,
Catastrophe.
Mad Dogs. I'm just going to
Catastrophe
keep
was really
saying.
good.
Catastrophe. No, Eileen started watching that this weekend.
Yeah, I think I recommended it to her. I
maybe
thought it was
that's why.
pretty fantastic. Very, very, very funny stuff.
Brian, what you been up to?
Dude, watched a lot of TV. Helps that I was playing a lot of Hearthstone. I did watch our commitment to watch another episode of Justified. We'll talk about that in the show. I did go check out Deadpool. That was a lot of fun. I went back and watched Starship Troopers because it's on Netflix, nearly 20 years old. Shocking how well it holds up. I mean, the set pieces are tight, and it turns out sex and violence and squishing blood bugs and, earthlings as neo-fascist Nazis. Still, all the political commentary is just rad.
That was the first
enjoyed it.
DVD I ever watched.
It's what? Really?
Yeah.
I did watch 11/22/63 this morning, and we'll talk about that. But per a bunch of people's recommendations, I watched Dope last night, and that's available on Netflix, and it was adorable. I didn't realize, I couldn't tell, once I realized by the end of the third act what the movie was trying to be, I loved it. Early on, I couldn't tell if it was a realistic portrayal of a 90s geek culture loving individual, trying to deal with the reality of 21st century, street thug, drug trade or whatever. But then it got just silly enough that I'm like, oh, wait, I get it. This is adventures in babysitting. Let's go. This is going to be fun. And I had a blast.
Well, the YouTube Red Originals launched this past week, as we mentioned they would. So now it can be told. I did watch Scare PewDiePie, and I think they're onto something. It's like the PewDiePie fans are going to adore this show, I have a feeling. And if you aren't big into PewDiePie, it's still interesting how they're trying to make real life horror situations come true for him in a reality show. And it's got all the reality show tropes. A Trip to Unicorn Island is about Lily Singh. It's a documentary about her rise as a young Indian American woman and having her family's opinions about what she was doing, trying to become a YouTube star instead of going to college. Really fascinating watch there. And we also, I saw Deadpool, watched Justified. We'll talk about all of that. Watched 11/22/63 this morning, and I enjoyed it. But the other one I want to mention is Chef's Table, and I believe, Bryce, you may have mentioned this one before on The Lookout.
That was our first on The Lookout.
It was our very first one.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I finally got around to watching an episode of that and adored it. If you're the kind of person who likes Hero, Dreams of Sushi, and Anthony Bourdain, it's not got Bourdain, and it's got some of the sensitivity of Hero, but not all of it. But it's got that same feeling of getting to know a chef and his love of food and why he loves it, and a great love story. And that's just the first episode. So
yeah, the whole series is great, and it's shot so beautifully. It's just gorgeous. Outstanding and gorgeous. I watched an uplifting little documentary called Broken Dreams, the Boeing 787.
Oh, just about the problems?
It's about the Dreamliner.
Wow.
Yes. It's a very, very depressing documentary about the basic failure of the Dreamliner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an uplifting one. Check that out.
So what is on The Lookout, Bryce?
So you guys mentioned 11/22/63, which I think we'll be talking about in spoiler in time. But the basic pitch on that is James Franco is wrapped up into a plot to save John F. Kennedy from being assassinated in the 60s.
Spoiler: John F. Kennedy was assassinated in this.
But that's the first episode is on Hulu now. It's about 90 minutes, and I think new episodes are coming on Mondays. But we're going to be talking about that a lot in spoiler in time. But I think, have we all seen it? Is it all like a pretty even like recommendation?
Oh yeah,
I haven't seen it.
Thumbs up from me.
The other thing, because we got a lot of great emails for your on the lookout suggestions, so we're going to start going into those next week. But also coming up on Friday this week is a romantic comedy TV series from Netflix called Love. I haven't seen it yet, but it's got Gillian Jacobs and Paul Rust as two sort of kind of contrasting sort of personalities who there's maybe a will they, won't they sort of thing going on. But I think they're very funny, and I'm looking forward to it. I thought it would be out by now because Valentine's Day was yesterday, but I guess not. So 11/22/63 is on Hulu. That's coming Mondays, and Love will be on Netflix.
Keep all the great suggestions coming, even if you don't hear your suggestion here. We look through them all. Bryce is making a big list, and he's checking it twice. So email us with your on the lookout suggestions, cordkillers@gmail.com. Let's get to some dispatches, which are from the front. So I don't know how much of a representative sample Alan from Australia is, but he has subscribed to Netflix for 4 years. 3.5 years before they launched in Australia. And then they started blocking his VPN. And of course, PayPal started white knighting Netflix and blocking payments to VPNs through PayPal. And that affected him too. And so he has canceled Netflix. He says, I wonder what effect this will have, Netflix's share price, if a similar amount of people in Australia and especially China, who have an estimated 30 million users using VPNs as Netflix isn't even officially available there yet, canceled. What are your thoughts? Why are Netflix doing the right thing after years of turning a blind eye? Or is it a case of the studios finally leaving them no choice?
I mean, this is you got a taste of what a fully developed platform looks like in America. This is a case where they've been working on what they have in America for easily a dozen years, right? And they're at a point where they finally have negotiated these deals. They finally have a big enough presence that people who are developing original content would consider taking it to Netflix first, which means they've had a flight to quality and completeness of catalog. They're starting in all of these new countries. They're starting over in many ways. Now, granted, they have the infrastructure, they have the brand, and they know what works before, but they still have to go and build that library all over again. So temporarily, you're being yanked out of 2016 and yanked back to 2013. And yeah, it sucks. You got a smaller library. You're not having access to all the content that you really want, but I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, I bet you jump back. You're going to come back and it'll be just fine.
And it's interesting. Like the money that Alan was giving was U.S. money. Even though he's Australian, because they didn't have an Australian product, his money was counted as a U.S. subscription, I would assume.
Oh,
because
that's
they couldn't
interesting.
Count it in Australia. And so what Netflix is saying is, look, we couldn't acknowledge your subscriptions anyway. So if you guys cancel, we'll have to live with that. And Brian is totally right. The reason they're cracking down on VPN now is because they launched in all the countries on Earth but 5. Mm-hmm. And so to get like that out the door, they had to tell the studios, fine, we'll try to enforce some VPN. We've been telling you for years that enforcing VPN restrictions is a losing battle, but okay, we'll make an effort to do it. And unfortunately, Alan got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, Judy writes in with another Netflix take. She says that I've often found there's nothing much to watch at Netflix, so I was curious. Am I just being too picky? I thought you might be interested in my scribblings on a paper napkin while getting coffee in the morning this morning. Good morning.
Thank you.
Using the data at Flaked, there are currently 5,658 movies and /TV shows at Netflix, all categories in the U.S. There are none in the max number of rating stars. Now, by that, I assume she means none of them are 5 stars, but it seems like the moment anyone doesn't give a 5-star, you can't have, it's like none of them have an average of 100.
It's not perfect.
There are none in the max number of rating stars. There are 122 in the next category down, 836 in the next, 1621 in the one after that. So there are only 2% of their catalog in the top 2 rating categories and 15% in the third category. The fourth category alone is 29%. That means 45% in the top 4 rating categories. So 55% of the movies. She hasn't said stars yet, so I wonder if I'm misreading this. She says that 55% of the movies, 3,644 of them in the U.S., are below the top 4 rating categories. Some rounding effects. We see. Then that tells me she's not talking about stars at all. No, it can't be, because if she's saying the top 55% aren't in the top 4 rating categories, then that would mean 45% of all the movies are 1 star.
Oh,
yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Really?
No, that can't be true.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me at all, because remember, Netflix has a vast number of stuff that they don't care about, that they just happen to net in.
Long
and they're like,
tail,
well, we might as well put it out there. The star ratings are always going to be at harsh ends of the spectrum. People either love or hate stuff. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff people try once and say, that's 1 star. We hate that. So none of this surprises me. The key for Netflix is not to have everything be highly rated. The key for Netflix is for the person who loves those 1-star recommendations, because there are people who gave 5 stars to some of those 1 stars. Make sure that those come to the top of the recommended list for those people and nobody else. Nobody else should ever see those.
Shitty stuff.
Yeah,
here's some more
because it's
recommendations.
not about overall ratings. It's about, did you get recommended stuff that you like?
Yeah, I could totally see that for some of the fringy kind of horror genre fans and people who are like, yeah, all right, fair enough.
And then it's about originals. Like, do they have an original out this week that you love?
Yeah, we got one more email, but this one's nothing but recommendations for On the Lookout, so I'm going to save that for another time. But meanwhile, if you guys want to chime in, if you want to give us clarity, Judy, on the rest of this, hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com. And we missed Josh in New Hampshire. Perfect. Who says that he has switched to a skinny bundle because he's in a market where they are testing this new $15 a month deal that gives him live local channels and HBO for $15 a month. It's available in Boston, Chicago, and reportedly launching soon in Seattle from Comcast. Requires that you have Comcast internet. But then you stream the service. This is the one we mentioned previously on Cordkillers. And he says, hey, that's cheaper than HBO Now. So again, Comcast very cleverly marketing, saying, hey, why would you pay for HBO Now when you can pay for HBO and live local channels and stream it through our little Comcast Stream app? Isn't that amazing? And then we get to keep you counted as a subscriber, and we don't have to hook up a cable box, which saves us money. Man, to go back to the original thing, remember, like the story, yes, 800,000 subscribers on HBO Now, but still nearly 3 million new customers for HBO, period. That's the only number that really matters. Yeah, and don't forget that after this $15 a month trial ends, the price goes up. I don't know how much, but it always goes up. Thank you, Veronica Belmont, for joining us, especially because you're sick.
Thank you for having me. Sorry if I was a little spacey.
Nah, you were great. You're a pro, total pro. Couldn't tell, wouldn't have known. Go ask Veronica questions. Dear Veronica at Engadget.com. Where should they go?
Yes, that is the place. Go to Engadget.com/Dear-Veronica for the show.
And of course, if you like to have recommendations for science fiction and fantasy books, as well as television shows like we mentioned here on Cordkillers, go check out Sword and Laser, swordandlaser.com. Hey guys, one quick note. Remember that we have a bonus size spoiler in time this week. We have special guests, the creators of the Expanse book, writing under the name James S.A. Corey. Who are they again, Tom? Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham are going to join us. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about the Expanse, and we're really, really excited about it. Make sure to listen. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com, and we're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you later. Hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is. Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers. You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But unless you just want to see who they are. Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it? If you want to be a gawker, let's go. It's up to you. Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.